On the Mich Rich Show, issues are highlighted. Dr. Michelle E. is changing lives, yeah. On the Mich Rich Show.
And with us today on the Mich Rich Show is none other than Larry Rein, Chief Executive Officer and President of Childnet. How are you doing today, Larry?
Fantastic, Michelle. How are you?
I'm doing well. It is so excited to have you on set with us today, just to talk about the greatness of foster care and how families benefit from being foster parents and even the foster children. So tell us a little bit about what Childnet does and what is your role at Childnet?
Well, Childnet is technically the community-based care lead agency in Broward County and in Palm Beach County, Florida. What that really means is we operate the foster care system. We have a contract with the Department of Children and Families, which we earned in both counties through competitive procurements. And we essentially oversee the operation of foster care in Broward and Palm Beach. We do now in both counties, Childnet provides dependency case management, but virtually everything else we contract out to local nonprofit organizations. So we have agencies that recruit and train foster parents. We have agencies that provide behavioral health care services. We have agencies that provide group care and shelter care. So we sort of oversee. Childnet's over it all and leads, but we don't do it all by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, with that smile on your face, I can tell you that you are very excited about what you do and the role that you play as CEO. So as CEO, what does your day look like in taking care of the foster children?
My day looks like, especially now, during the pandemic, I'm the busiest I've ever been because there's no downtime. So today I had a board of directors meeting at 8 o'clock. Then I had a conference call with some people from around the country to talk about a big challenge that we're all facing with some federal legislation. And I went right from that to, I had a meeting with our Childnet's director of training that I had to cut short so that I could come to this. From this, I go to a staff meeting. And from that, I go to the National Adoption Day ceremonies in Palm Beach. And then I might eat lunch at 3 or 4 o'clock.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm really sorry that your day is so busy, but busy is good in these days because you know what's happening.
I'm not complaining. Oh no, I'm not complaining. As you could tell, as you aptly saw, I love my work. I love my job. I couldn't be happier, and I love being busy.
When a child is put in the foster care system, what's usually the process, and how does Childnet get involved?
Well, so the process always starts with a call to the abuse hotline. The abuse hotline then makes a determination of whether there should be an investigation. If there is an investigation in Broward County, they refer it to the Broward Sheriff's Office. In Palm Beach County, they refer it to the Department of Children and Families, which does child protective investigations. So then the investigators go out, they do their investigation, they do their assessments. And ultimately, if they decide that a child is unsafe and that they suspect that there has been abuse, then they refer the case to Childnet. And they also, on almost all cases, will then begin a court and a legal process.
Wow. As a foster mom, I'm a new foster mom actually for the last, maybe I want to say 6 months. And I am just moved with emotions, good emotions, and I'm awed because I didn't realize, you hear all the horror stories as to being a foster mom, the things that happen and the system this and that, but I'm seeing so much care, support that is blowing me away. And what do you think contributed to this? Because, how do we get rid of the horror stories that's out there? I know it's hard, but I know you guys are doing a phenomenal job, but what do you think we could do differently, even me in my role, to make this a better way to tell people that they should become a foster parent?
Well, that's really interesting. And your take, and I'm glad your take on it is really good and sort of right with mine. So first of all, I think people have in their mind an image of foster care that is really the way it used to be several years ago. It is very much different in the state of Florida. I can't speak for elsewhere, but it's certainly very much different in the state of Florida today than it was 20 years ago. I think the quality of foster parents is fantastic. I think the agencies doing work are doing great work. Many of the challenges, so Childnet is the lead agency in Broward and in Palm Beach. We were created just to do this originally in Broward. We don't do other things, and we don't do anything outside of the area that we know, the area that we have relationships. So this concept, community-based care, which actually began in Florida, officially began the first pilot project in 1995, and the state eventually transitioned over to this, I think, by about 2005. Childnet started in 2002. This system is local, and it is much improved over the old system, which was all from Tallahassee, Department of Children and Families, telling everybody to do things the same way, very poor communication, telling people in Ocala to do things the same way as people in Miami or Fort Lauderdale. It didn't fit. So now is much, much better. And I think you're sensing that. But my thing is, and the reason I keep working, is because I think we can still do so much better. We're better than we were, a lot better, but we can get even better. I think that we need to do always the most and the best that we possibly can for our abused, abandoned, neglected children and their families. So we can't rest on our laurels. We need to keep improving. And that's what keeps me going. And when you ask, what are some of the things we can do? One of them is getting foster parents. And I don't know you well, but I know a little bit. But getting foster parents, especially, we have in Broward and Palm Beach, and remember, I'm talking about Broward and Palm Beach because that's what I know. And I don't want to talk about other places, but we have a pretty good inventory of foster parents in general. The number of foster parents we have is good. But what we don't have is enough foster parents to serve some of the more challenging kids. We don't have nearly enough foster parents for teenagers, and we don't have enough foster parents for sibling groups, especially sibling groups where there's a big disparity in age, and of course sibling groups that are really, really large, but that happens every once in a while. So we constantly, that's what Childnet is trying to do now, is target getting more foster parents to take the more challenging kids. And as you say, we can give you a lot of support, but it takes special people to also serve in that role.
Yeah, that's what I was told, and I can just say quickly as we close, what I thought that I did different. I remember when I interviewed and I met with my foster baby, she said to me, if you read my book, you're not gonna take me. So I closed her book and I said, you know what? I'm not gonna take you. I'm not gonna read your book. I'm gonna put the past behind me and we're gonna move on, and look at the future. We have little butt heads, but nothing major that I can say, oh wow, I'm sorry I did this. I actually have a mom and a son, and so for me it's amazing. It's good to wake up and see my baby smiling at me, but not everybody will see it that way, and I can understand that. But as we close, I just want to tell you also thank you for the great job that you and your staff and your team, they've been so supportive. I mean, they're at night I can call them, I'm sending a text message expecting to get an answer the following day, and I'm getting an answer right away because I'm saying, lest I forget, let me make sure I put this out there. The judges are really cool. I mean, it's just a great system that I see. One thing that you would say to a foster parent or someone that's sitting on the fence, should I do this or should I not do this? What would you say? Because one last question that I want to add to that is an A and B question. It is rumored, and I will say rumored because I don't know if the statistic is true, about 40% of the kids that end up in the foster care system end up in the correctional system. So I just want you to balance that. What would you say to the foster parent, and why is that so, do you think?
Okay, so what I would say to foster parents that's thinking about it, and I think foster parents need to understand, or prospective foster parents, one, you will not be alone. You will get great support, just like you said, Michelle. You will get professional support, and you will get support from the agency that licenses you. You will get support from Childnet. You will get support from other foster parents. In Broward and Palm Beach, it's become like a community of foster parents that help one another and support one another. And then understand that the services for the child, we have a very good medical plan through Medicaid, through a special plan created by the Florida legislature, especially for foster care kids. So they can get good medical care. There's no real issues or challenges there. They can get behavioral health care and counseling. All of those things. What they can't get from the state, though, is what's in here, you know, and that's what we need you as foster parents to do. But we can support you with those material things, and even support you in emotional ways. So I think don't be scared of it because you think it's going to be too much in terms of the practical and the everyday. Where you need to be good and strong is in your love and in your heart. Now, on to that other question. You know, I honestly don't know the true statistic about children after foster care. I will tell you, there's a couple of ways to look at this. One, Florida is doing a much better job than they ever did in terms of helping youth transition out of foster care or prepare for adulthood. But again, it's one of those things where we're doing much better, but I don't think we're not doing the best. We're not doing the most. And it's really a challenge, and it's especially a challenge. I mean, we created a program. We still call it a pilot program in Palm Beach County called the Oak Street Home. We took the 4 most challenging young men in the dependency system in Palm Beach. They were an exceptional student education in school, if they even attended, so they had challenges there. They had pretty significant delinquency histories already. And so they were involved with criminal stuff in juvenile justice. Then they were in foster care, and in foster care for a long time. They ran away a lot. A lot of risky behaviors, some of them substance abuse. So we created this program. We made really, really low, we paid for better staff. We paid for more staff. We kept it to only 4 young men, each with their own bedroom. We tried to create the most home-like atmosphere we could. We enrolled them in a wonderful charter school with an amazing principal. And we've had really, really great results, great community support. And these 4 young men, for the first time in their life, everybody that knows them and knows them a long time says they have hope. And every time I see these kids, or every time I go to the home, it like makes my life worthwhile. But I say that, but now our new challenges, a couple of them have turned 18, and they leave to go out on their own. And we have, you know, some independent living programs after they turn 18, but it's still so hard for them. You know, they've grown up in foster care. You know, they've been dependent on the system, and they've not developed. You know, people get a lot into things like financial literacy and all of that. Yeah, that's important, but I think we give them that stuff. But they haven't had the chance to grow internally and be confident about how to go out in the world and how to really take care of themselves. And so therefore, my point being that, yeah, after foster care, the outcomes, even for the ones we're starting to do a really good job with in their late teens, we need to start even earlier if we're going to make a difference for when they become adults. So we've been really trying. So we had the first young man, he left. And we got him in a program or independent living, but he stopped taking his medication. He stopped going to school, you know, and he didn't have somebody there to really push him to do that stuff like he'd had for the last couple of years. So the next kid that turned 18, we're doing a lot more for, and the third that's turning 18, and hopefully we'll have better outcomes with them, but we'll see. But that is a challenge. You hit on it again, Michelle. You know, I don't know what the statistics is, but you can imagine it's very, very tough for them after they leave foster care. But then again, there are some great success stories. We do a graduation in both counties every year of foster care kids. We have tons of high school graduates. We have multiple college graduates. This year we graduated somebody from law school. So we have a lot of successes these days, but we still got a lot of challenges.
Well, Larry, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time of being on the Dr. Mich Rich Show. And, you know, honestly, we're going to be talking to Kaydion right after this. And so she will, you know, shine a lot more light on it as to what happens when they age out. So, you know, this is a great way to end our segment today with you. But again, I just want to thank you for your job that you're doing. And I know you're going to say I'm not doing it by myself. It's your team. And I know you have a phenomenal team that something as simple as I can't get to take my foster baby to an appointment and Childnet sends transportation. So from that, I mean, it's the little things for me that counts. And so I just want to tell everyone that sitting on the fence, to jump off that fence and jump in the middle and let's do this together, because we're a team, we're a community. And as you said, it's in our hearts. It's not on the outside. It's not just the practical side of it. So thank you again, Larry. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And thank you so much for what you're doing in fostering. Thanks very much. Have a great day.
You too. You're welcome.
On the Mich Rich Show.
Are you a kind, caring, and committed person? If you are, here at Linden Nursing Services, we're seeking home health aides, CNAs, LPNs, and RNs. Come and join our team of professional caregivers today. Not only are we the best in the business, but we deliver services of the highest quality. Give us a call today. We are waiting to hear from you. 561-434-5005, or visit us on our web at lindennursing.com. Well, we're in this segment now, and we're getting ready to talk to none other than Kaydion. Kaydion is the Director for Youth Services at Childnet. And as you heard earlier on from the CEO, Childnet is the go-to place for foster care in Broward County and Palm Beach County. So Kaydion, welcome to the Mich Rich Show, and it's so exciting to have you on today. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. Thank you, Dr. Michelle, for having me on today. It's a pleasure.
You, in your bio, I'm reading that you've been in foster care system and in China for 18 years. And for me, like 18 years and you still look like 18 years old. So I guess your job is not that demanding. Tell me about, as I even asked Larry this question, what does a day in Kaydion's life look like in working with Childnet?
Okay. So I think the key is to smile a lot. It takes away a lot of the stress. But the day in Kaydion's life, it is very challenging. It is a very challenging job. It is also rewarding. For me, I consider it a ministry. So being able to assist our youth and young adult as they transition to the foster care system, I take great pride in it. So I don't get stressed out usually. And if I do get stressed out, I have family support, friends, and everyone to kind of get me through it. But like I told you, I've worked with Childnet for over 18 years. 18 years in child welfare services, 17 with Childnet directly.
Wow.
So if I didn't love my job, I would not be here for that many years.
Wow. And you just spoke about transition. That word is important in the foster care system, because we know that at 18 years, they age out, as you might want to call it in your world, out of the system. So what does that transition process looks like for a child? Because that's what you're in charge of, the children that are aging out of the system, correct?
Correct. So In my division, it is considered a youth services division where we focus on the youth who are 17, 17 and a half and getting ready to turn 18. However, prior to them even coming over at 17 and a half, what we have this, it's a staff and it's a meeting that we hold, you know, with the youth every 6 months, just to ensure that they are prepared, services are in place, they are receiving the needed life skills training that they need. So once they do turn 18, they're ready to be independent to a certain extent. As we know, you know, children, 18 years old, you're still a child, technically. Yeah. Yes, you're labeled legally an adult, but you are a child. And the difference is with a lot of these youth is they don't have the family support that, you know, someone like me or you may have growing up. So it is our job or responsibility to make sure they are equipped with all the training they need to ensure that they transition successfully. So once they turn 18 and are maintaining their own apartment, they know exactly what it is that they need to do to be successful. So those are discussions we have in those staffings that are held every 6 months. So we do start at 16 years old and 16 and a half, 17 and a half. And through that process, you know, we are assessing to see what are their strengths, their challenges, what are their short-term goals, their long-term goals, and see how we can work best to help them to, you know, move into those areas that they may be interested in. As far as their education, they may, you know, so we have some youth who want to go to college, and we do have some who just want to learn a trade. So we're not going to force a child who wants to learn to do hair. They want to do cosmetology, so why should we force them to go to a 4-year university? So our job, and we do when we hire staff, we keep that in mind. These staff have to be passionate about working with youth, because not everyone is equipped or have the desire or passion to work with youth and young adults. So we have to make sure, you know, these are individuals who are seasoned within child welfare and do have a passion for working with these youth and young adults as they transition. So of course, the whole process involves making sure they have their Florida ID, preparing them to get, making sure they learn how to drive. We have a program for that. Making sure that they are going through life skills that foster financial stability or, you know, education, whatever it may be, learn how to budget, cook, clean, doing self-care. All of those things are, all those items I just list, life skills. That's what we focus on to make sure that they learn all of those skills in order to transition successfully.
Wow. So the services and the support. Larry also mentioned about the fact that they have healthcare. After they age out, how much longer do they get healthcare? You know, and a financial support. I know he said that there are some programs. Maybe you want to elaborate on that a little bit for me.
Definitely, good question. So all of our youth who transition out of foster care, they do, majority of them go into what is called extended foster care. So they do have the option of we do have some youth who turn 18 and they say, you know what, I just want to be on my own, I want to work independently, whatever, I don't want to be involved with the system anymore. But very few that fall in that little gap right there. Most of our youth go into what is called extended foster care. Once they enter into extended foster care, they do have the option with remaining with their foster parent that they're with, or they have the option of going into shared living apartment or supervised living arrangement. So all of that, of course, we have to approve. There's specific documentation that we use to assess, you know, the condition of the home, to make sure it's safe and suitable for that young adult. And of course, all our young adults, they do receive all the service I listed before, in addition to Medicare. So each of them get Medicaid from 18 all the way up to 26. However, once they turn 21, they are responsible for reapplying for Medicaid services on their own. even though it is set up that way in the statute that they apply for it on their own, we as the professionals, we are there to assist them in going through the process, making sure they're on top of it, they're applying for the needed, needed health care that they, will benefit them. So of course, it doesn't stop even when, it ends at 23, where services through the state stops at 23, healthcare do continue up to age 26.
I was just talking to Andrea, your community relations officer, and she says, I mean, it's just, working for Childnet is just something that she just backs and she loves it, And I can just see the glow and the happiness in you. Some people, they get up to go to work and they're just like, I don't want to do this. Just even in our conversations, I just can hear the joy in your heart, just when you speak, in your voice about what you do and how you, give back to these youth. And that is so amazing. And I don't think they could put a better person in charge of the youth, a better director in place, but one like you, Kaydion, who really do have the heart. How many children do you think, just about, because I know for sure you're not sure how much it would be, but approximately how much that really age out of the system here in Broward County where we reside?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So on average, we do have each year we have about an average about 45 to 60 youth who do age out, turn 18. But of course, as a whole, we are actively working with over 200, about 247 to 260 youth each year. So it's an accumulation because of course every year, every month, every week, there's a youth that's aging out. So, and for those youth who are aging out, we do have staff specifically assigned to them. So they they're not, you hear, oh, this youth turned 18 and, they pretty much become homeless or they don't have support. That is not true. Every youth that ages out of foster care is assigned an independent living aftercare specialist or an independent living advocate. And that person remain with them until they're 23 years old. And they provide them with financial support, connect them with resources within the community. They help them to apply for food stamps, Medicaid, apply for employment, whatever it may be, whatever that need is, that aftercare specialist or independent living advocate is responsible for assisting the youth through that transition. In addition to that, and which is what makes us so unique in Broward, is we are the only CBC, which is an agency that is attached to life coach services. We have what is called life coaches within our community, and they work hand in hand with the Childnet staff to ensure that these youth are provided with the needed resources they so desire, or the services are in place that they need. They make sure they get to these appointments. If this youth is having a difficulty getting to maybe a job interview or doctor's appointment, we do make sure that they are wrapped so tightly with services that there's no need for them to fail. If they really want to succeed, there is no hindrance to it. We make sure there is no hindrance. So it's really up to the youth to do their part.
Wow. Well, as we close, Kaydion, I just want to thank you. Just for the job that you're doing, because as you said, which is important to me also, is that this is not just a job, it is a ministry. And we know that means you are willing and able to give back and to pour into these youth as they age up, because I know it's traumatic for them. It is scary just getting out there in the world. Some of them, I remember I used to say, I can't wait till I get to 16. I can't wait till I get to 18. The minute you get to 16 and 18, you're like, this is a different animal. So, what I've been experiencing though, as a foster mom, is just like what the system is giving. For me, sometimes it's even overwhelming because this one is calling to check up. This one is there to make sure that, and as I said to Larry, something as simple as Brianna needing to go to an appointment and China is sending transportation. For me, that's just like, I can just be in my bed, twiddling my thumbs. No, I don't do that. But I'm just saying, it's just the little things that you wouldn't think that they will do that the system is doing. So I really do applaud you guys. I know there's a lot of work still to be done, but I just know that you're taking it one step at a time, and I'm grateful that you are here to support the system, the community, and most of all, the children. So thank you so much for all that you do, and any final words before you go?
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Dr. Michelle, for having me. And you are one of those prize foster parent, I have to say. You have made a big difference in our youth life. I won't say the name, but you know who you are fostering. And we see the change. We have seen this young girl went from 0 to like 99.5% right now. Totally different person. So we appreciate, we applaud you. We thank you for investing, your time, your effort, giving your patience, whatever is it, whatever resources. We do know you have your own life, your own family, but for you to take the time to pour out into these, youth and give of yourself, it speaks volume. And we appreciate, we really desire more foster parent like you. We are in need, because the reality is at the end of the road, once they turn 18, you see the difference between those who have been fostered and those who have grown up in the group home system. And not that all group home is run badly or anything, but from majority, you can tell the difference between a foster home and a group home youth, because they grew up with in a family-like setting, and they have that support. It's a good foster home. It's well knitted. It's supportive, and it encourages growth and independence. And we appreciate you for that. If there are more like you out there, we do. We welcome you. We welcome you to join, to get on board with us, to provide a safe and happy home for our youth, because they need it. Our children need people like you. So I appreciate you, and thank you so much for taking the time to sit and talk with us and to get a different view on foster care, because I know the stigma is out there, and I do appreciate you taking the time to speak to us, to get a different view on what it is to be a part of the foster care system. And I'm quite sure you'll hear more from our former foster care youth as well.
Yes, so thank you so much, Kaydion. And after this, we will have Sunny, who is gonna give you story. Get your tissues ready, because I'm telling you, this story is gonna blow your mind, and I'm just excited, and I can't wait to share it with you all. Thank you so much, Kaydion, and God bless you. Take care.
On the Mich Rich Show.
All right, listen, we are back in our next segment, and we will have with us a foster youth, a man of God. Oh, and the smile, the $1 million smile that is so happy, even for his journey. And I want to tell you all this: get your tissues, get your napkins, get your handkerchiefs, because I mean, after I spoke to him yesterday, he had me like just boo bawling, with just his journey, it's always good to hear success stories and just great things that happens to persons in their lifetime, and especially when they're transparent enough to really talk about their journey, because we all know that our testimony is not for us, it's for someone else. So his transparency to me was just like, oh my God, amazing. So we have with us a former, let me say former foster man of God, former foster youth, Sonny Burnett, here with us today to talk a little bit about his journey and how he stayed in the system, in and out of the system, and all that happened to him in the few minutes that we have left on set today. Sonny, welcome to the Dr. Michelle Show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, doing very good. Thank you so much for having me.
So you are a born again Christian, but it didn't start there. It's where it is now. So let's journey back to when you were 5 years old and you were put in the foster care system. Tell us a little bit about what happened during that time.
Sure. So yes, I was taken away from my mother at the age of 5, and placed into foster care. Basically, I had a slew of foster homes I started with first. I moved in immediately with someone I didn't know. So basically, I had to really adjust a whole lot to a lot of different changes. Just pretty much adapting to many different, like I said before, strangers and people that I didn't know. During the time in foster care, it was just it was quite challenging, but just managed to pretty much just adapt and continue to just look for the comfort of my brother and my sister, who were also removed with me. We had some allegations that went on in the house of sexual abuse. So it was a very very deep thing, and it took a lot for us to just pretty much to take that and try to live a happy life, even with having that background. We must have went during our time in foster care, starting off, I would say, our first 5 foster homes, 4 or 5, and we were just with complete strangers until finally we got to get in with our aunt, who stayed in Broward County. And then, unfortunately, during our time with her, she passed away. She passed away of cancer. So we then had to go from being with family back into foster care again, and pretty much start the whole cycle again, which wasn't easy. So we definitely went from there to a couple foster homes, and then ended up with more family, which was my aunt and uncle in Georgia. And we went up to Georgia, and we were able to stay there for about 3 to 4 years. And we unfortunately we weren't able to stay there as well because of physical abuse. It got to a point where it just was so bad that I knew I didn't want to be there anymore. My brother and sister, they didn't really want to speak up about it because they put a sense of fear in us. So basically, at that point, it was for up to me to say something. So I literally didn't want to talk and tell them out front. So I waited until they called and did like a phone checkup, and I pretty much, our calls were screened, so I couldn't even say exactly what I wanted to say. So I made up in my mind at 8 years old, I made up in my mind a system that I was just going to say yes and no, and whatever question involved the explanation, I wouldn't say anything. So I basically would sit and they would ask me, am I okay? I say no. And then what's going on? And I wouldn't answer until they finally said, oh, something's wrong, isn't it? I said, yes. And from that, basically they were able to set up an office meeting and find out what was going on. We're getting beaten, bruised, bleeding, just many nights just have trouble sleeping and things of that nature. But they were able to get us out that same night, and they said we couldn't stay there. From there, we went into another foster home. We came back to Florida. When we came back to Florida, we stayed with a foster parent, and it wasn't too well there either.
Wow.
Where not much attention was given to us. So she lived in a nice big house, in a plantation or something like that. And the house was nice, don't get me wrong, but the way that she treated us was just so bad. And she was barely there most of the time. And had someone really got to the end of it, they would saw why I started stealing and bringing about all these other behaviors, because we weren't getting fed. I stole because that's all that was in the pantry, and they called it stealing, even though I'm eating food that was in the house. So from that placement, I was the first to leave because of that issue, and I ended up going to a shelter. I want to say around that time I was probably around 13. And I went to a shelter, and at that shelter, it was any group home or shelter place is kind of hard, especially when you get a lot of teens acting out together. So it ruffled my feathers a bit, and I was able to, I got a little tough, but at the same time, it came with a lot of bad habits. So from there, thank God, SOS Children's Village heard of my story, and I was able to get interviewed for them. And long story short, I ended up going there, and that's where I was able to, I would say SOS Children's Village was where I was able to find the most stability, because it was like a family-like setting. It was a family-like setting, pretty much, you had a house parent or two house parents. When I got there were a lot of married couples, which made it feel even more like home. A community of 9 houses in a cul-de-sac. And yeah, like I said, just very family oriented. They allowed us to, participate in sports and other things like that. And it was very good because I hadn't felt that type of support in a long time. And I'm not saying that I was an angel during my whole stay,
Right.
but yeah, I was still a kid. But at the same time, it was much more comforting and, as I said before, much more family oriented. So I stayed there all the way until the age of 17, where they allowed me to have the option to move into transitional housing. And that's basically when you're independent living, you have the option of staying in subsidized housing where they give you a low rental rate and they give you a stipend of a certain amount as long as you meet the qualifying activity, which is with EFC, either working or in school. And once you get into PES or a little older, it's you just have to go to college. So I didn't know what I wanted for future in high school when I made it to high school, but there was this woman, my guidance counselor named Miss Kleiman, and if it wouldn't been for her, I wouldn't have went to college. I wouldn't have went to get a career in social work as I did, because she was the only one that ever really questioned me deeply as to what I want to do when I get older. Before that point, before that guidance counselor, even though it was good structure and everything, no one really sat me down to talk about my future in that detail. Mm-hmm.
So I remember you said, and we only have a few more minutes left to go. But I remember you saying that during that time between 5 and 18, there were some decisions that you had made, that really, took you left instead of straight. So quickly, like in the next a minute or so, those decisions, what were the things that you do? I know you said you stole food because you were hungry. But what else did you do in that time that you would say, you went left?
Yeah, when I was during that age, that was pretty much mostly it. I wasn't too rowdy of a child. I would say most of my behaviors came as I went. Well, I mean, I got suspended a few times fighting and things, but I mean, that was like neither here nor there. Just a part of adapting, trying to handle peer pressure and things like that. But most of my struggles really came later on as I got into college. I graduated high school and I went on to college after the transitional housing. And there was where I had a lot of the, struggles of finding my way. And I ended up in the streets a lot more than I was in class a lot of the time. And I was doing drugs, selling drugs, binge drinking, just all types of things, like I said, outside of the classroom, until about the end of my junior year, which was in college. And there I was able to finally get into a space where my head was put on straight. I was visiting my godbrother, who I didn't know would be my godbrother, but I met him in college, and he would take me with him to have a place to stay on breaks in college and things like that. And I had this situation where me and him, we got robbed at gunpoint, literally in the middle of nowhere, where we could have lost our lives. And at that point, I didn't know what I needed for my life, but I know that I needed something. I knew that this wasn't the route I wanted to take, and that there was just so much more for me. And I went to church that winter break coming down, and I just heard a powerful word from a man of God. It spoke to me, and I went up and I joined the church. Like I said, I didn't know what I was doing, but it ended up being the right move because my life totally started to change. From there, I started to get more focused in school, got through school, graduated, got my bachelor's. And yeah, like I said, it was just it was that and the people that I was able to meet within that time, like my godmother. She's a retired chief of police, owner of a chain of learning centers. And she just always spoke positively about me, tried to get me on the right track, and it was just very patient with me. And she showed me the church, and, I got to learn about God and got to know him for myself, and I got saved later on. I joined the church, but I got saved years later, after I was really able to figure out what it was about. So really, a lot of what had to put me on track was spiritual. It wasn't me, myself. I don't take the credit.
So you went to FAMU, I see. Because my daughter graduated from FAMU, so I'm excited about that, and I'm glad that you turned your life around. Even although in the beginning stages of university it was a little bit rough, and I know that happens to even children that are not in the foster care system. But thanks be to God, today you are the independent living aftercare specialist at Childnet, giving back. So as we close, I'm so happy that you really turned your life around. And I know you went in more detail yesterday because we had more time, and time really don't permit us today to really get into the depth of what it is that you had to do in college and how you steered away. But today you're on the right path and giving back to other kids what you thought they needed. So that is important. So what is one thing, as we close, you would say that you are giving back to them today, and letting them understand, and they're getting it, your journey, a part of your journey that has changed you for the better?
Yes, I would definitely say the whole part with going through foster care, and actually being through, the same system that these youth are going through, and having, witnessed and experienced these same programs in which these youth use. And, I pretty much just try to speak to them and allow them to stay encouraged that, if I did it, and I know if God did it for me, he can do it for them. And I just go at it with that type of mindset, and speaking with them every day and letting them know that, there's no limits, don't place limits on yourself, and just even, encouraging them to, hey, have a relationship with God if they so please, and I feel that's very important, having a spiritual life, like I said, as well as, the many things that they may be doing to be successful as a career. I encourage them to go full head on with it and not look at their experience in foster care as a boundary, but a motivator.
Well, thank you so much, Sonny, for being on the Dr. Mich Rich Show. And I just want to say to you, I'm glad that you turned your life around, and you have not just turned your life around, you're giving back to the same system that helped you to be where you are today. And as a graduate from FAMU, you're a part of the family, and we would love to have you back, because I remember you mentioned yesterday about you and the girls, and we didn't get a chance to get into you and all them girls that love that smile so much. So, but I see you wearing your cross. I know that you really love being a part of the kingdom of God, and the Bible tells us that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony. So continue using that testimony to help others. As God blesses you, bless others. Thank you, Sonny. It was good to have you on the Mich Rich Show today. God bless you.
On the Mich Rich Show.
Welcome to Top Physical Therapy. Our patients' safety is a top priority. So we abide by the procedures of the pandemic. Here we provide occupational physical therapy and any trauma you face due to car accidents or any other physical issues. Come to Top Physical Therapy to receive treatment that is long overdue. We're located at 6730 North University Drive, Tamarack, Florida 33321, southeast corner of University and McNabb. Call today at 954-722-2212 to schedule your appointment. We've got you covered.
We're back with our final segment, and of course, this is the ultimate love of my life. There, and with me now, sitting on the white couch, is my daughter Brianna and her son. I don't know if he's my grandson or my son or my uncle or my granddaddy, because he's like his own self, Ocean. And we always talk about Ocean's world. And I've been their foster mom for the past couple months, and it has been a joy. Yes, we've butt heads and we've had our issues, but for the most part, it has been just a joyous thing for me to serve as a foster parent. So Brianna is going to tell us a little bit about her role, her life, and her journey in a nutshell, and the benefits of being in the foster care system. Brianna?
Okay, so a little bit about me. I live here, and I have a son. So it's kind of hard every day, battling school, taking care of my son, and then on top of that I have parenting classes at the end of the day. Most of the times I'm okay and I'm happy, but I do get agitated and frustrated. So we get into little arguments, or like I say little slick stuff, but like we always end up talking about it or letting it blow over or whatever. So that's good. Now, benefits of like the system or Childnet?
The system.
The system. Okay, so DCF. One thing I can say is, like, I've been through a lot, but there's always someone that you can go to. And I have trust issues, so I don't really go to random people for help, but there's always somebody that you can go to, whether it's your CA, your CA supervisor, somebody from HR. There's always somebody that you can go to tell them your problems, what you have going on, and most of the times your problem will get solved. So that's what I can say.
You've been in the system for how long?
Since I was 2 years old. I went in at 2, I came back out when I was 4, and I went back in that same year.
And you are?
15.
15 now. If there is one thing that you would say to a foster mom, not a foster child, a foster mom, what would that be? Wanting to get into the system, what would you say to them?
I mean, it really all depends on what kind of kid you're taking in. If you're taking in a really young, vulnerable child, like, don't make any promises. You're going to see your parents tomorrow. You're going to see your parents next year, because that causes trauma later on. You're thinking, I'm going to go home soon. You're not going home, or you really don't know. Don't make any promises. Don't try to sugarcoat things, because it doesn't always help out. With teenagers, you have to like give them their space, and that's one thing I like about being here, because I get my own space unless it's an issue. If I'm causing a problem, then that's the only time where she really like interjects and is like, okay, you need to do this. Other than that, like, I get my own space, I get my own time to do my own things. Nobody's like, Brianna, do this, do that, da 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 da. So
unless it's really your chore.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much all I can say.
Okay, Mr. Ocean. Okay, so as we close, this little Ocean is our joy, and you could all see that he's our joy, and he's our heart, And he's a little pain sometimes. Look at him, just wanting to be Ocean in Ocean's world. But you know, for a teenage mom, as we close.
Like what would I say to it?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I've said a couple times that I feel like quitting and giving up, and it's all. I think it's all part of it runs in the family. My mom was in the system, and she gave up multiple times, and she gave up on me, and like that breaks my heart. So I always have to remember in the back of my head, I can't give up on him because one day he's gonna think, "Wow, my mom really gave up on me. She didn't even try." So each time when I say, okay, I'm done, I can't do this anymore, send me back to a group home, I'm done with the parenting classes, I have to think, like, what is he gonna think about me when he turns 15, 16? Like, oh, my mom really chose a group home over me. So sometimes you just have to like think about the bigger picture, because what's in the now does not last forever. You have to think 5 years, 10 years from now, what your child is going to think of you, what your child is going to look up to you for. Like, you have to be there. And Ocean does not have a father in his life. So if I leave, there's nobody else. So
But the system. And that's not what we want for Ocean or Brianna. So I just want to thank everyone for tuning into our foster care system and its benefits. You know, that was our topic for this project, and I'm just happy to be a foster mom. I have 3 other daughters, and I did not know what a son would give. These little boys, but it's a joy for me. It's a joy for my girls to be in Ocean's and Brianna's life, and I'm just grateful for the support that we get from the system, from Childnet, from you know, the court system, just everybody. For me, it was a little bit more than I even anticipated that they would be so supportive. So if you're thinking about it, don't think too long. Get in the system. Do what you have to do. Let's make this happen for a family. Let's make this happen for a youth. Let's make some success stories out of children who would not normally get the benefit of having a real true family. Things happen to parents, and sometimes it's not only the parents that mess up, it's some of the children that also mess up and get in the foster care system. But we as parents who have or don't have children, who have the space and have the time to give back, should really take the time to think about it and not just think but act on it. So we're looking forward to more foster parents and more love for the children in the society, so we can have a lot more success stories. So thank you so much. Thank you, Brianna and Ocean, for being in my life. And I just want to say to you, it's time to jump in and make it happen for them. Right? Thank you so much.